Hi, I'm Chuck Samikian,
And I'm John Tallheimer. Welcome to the HR Stories Podcast,
where there's a lesson in every story.
So what's going on, Chuck? Tell me what is going on in the world of Chuck Samikian, HR Director at a four-diamond
resort in Florida. Well, John, I'm glad to be back on the rails. And listeners, you probably have no idea what we're talking about, but we did have a great blooper reel. So, John, I got a quick question before we dive in because I'm a little sleepy right now. I have things that keep me up all night, but how did you sleep last night?
Last night actually was okay. It was okay last night. I have had experiences lately that things are keeping me up, right? And so something will pop up either right before I'm going to bed, or I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with that? What's that problem? And I think it's not a pandemic of sleeplessness in the HR world.
Well, you know what? Here's the deal. John Tallheimer, master of, I would say disaster, master of everything, leadership guru, you are not alone. You know, folks, if you're leading people today, chances are you've had a few sleepless nights. And because, let's face it, HR is dealing with a lot in 2025.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so today what we're going to do, listeners, is we're going to dig into what's keeping HR leaders up. And so Chuck and I have been reaching out to other HR leaders and going, hey, what are the things that are keeping you up? What is that kind of stuff? And honestly, I've been talking to a lot of managers about what's keeping them up at night. And guess what? Some of the things are the same. Business owners too, right? They're kind of the same. So we're going to break down the 9 major challenges. We're going to share some real world stories of what people have done from other United States organizations and give you ideas to put in the action. What do you say, Chuck?
Yeah, and look, if you ever want any more tools after today's episode, check out the Ultimate Guide to HR Checklist Edition. That's our book. We wrote it. We wrote it with sweat and grit and love. And you can, yes, you can get it on Amazon.com or reach out to us for customized leadership and management training.
Yeah, and Chuck, I got to tell you, I was just hired by a local county up here to do some management training for them. Starting that, we're doing that tomorrow, actually. So I'm very excited to kind of get in there and to work with them. And you know me, right? That manager is the most important thing in the organization. So getting that going, it's going to be really cool. But it kind of leads to issue number 1. And that is talent shortages and skills gap. So let's talk about that. This is the challenge that just doesn't seem to want to go away.
Yeah. And you know what? I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing it, years. 20, 30 years. And it's not getting any easier. It is getting harder, not just to hire many times bodies, but to hire the right people with the right skills for the future. And fighting over the same small talent pool, it's exhausting and it can get expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're hearing that. And one of the statistics that I would share is they are predicting or estimating that we have about 5 million to 6 million open jobs and no labor to fill them. It's not like, oh, it's just people haven't applied. There's just no one to fill them. There's just not people. We're feeling that in the construction industry. We're feeling that in the hospitality. You know this, Chuck. And so kind of doing it. So what can we do? How can we get into that place? And I wanted to share 2 stories with you. One that I personally experienced, and then one was from Walgreens.
Oh, yeah.
So they launched a program called Farm Start. And it's a program that pays for their existing employees to take pharmacy school pre-request classes online instead of hoping that pharmacy grads show up.
I love that.
They're growing their own. They're out there getting their own on there.
That's what you have to, that is something that you have to do. And we've been taking that tact also where I am now. But yeah, picture this. I mean, really, you got this frontline cashier at Walgreens. Would you like to enter your membership number, your phone number, repeating that over and over again. Oh, look, you got great coupons. Come on back. But they've been loyal for the 5 years. All of a sudden, they see an opportunity for a huge career ladder change and shift that they never thought was possible. They're at the front, they see the pharmacy in the back, they're like, I'll never be working back there.
Yeah, it's so funny. I Let me introduce you to Ron. I won't use his last name. So when I was working at QVC,
Mm-hmm.
I had an employee named Ron working for me. He was a stage technician. And I'm going to say that he was not an A+ stage technician, but he was an okay stage technician. He worked hard. He was dedicated, showed up. So QVC had an issue. They did not have enough computer programmers to do what they wanted to do. They just didn't have. There wasn't people out there. And they're like, how can we do this? How can we bring people in? And they're like, let's hire from within. And so they created a program that I think it was a year-long program where they would be taken off their job,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would have an opening and they would be hired into this temporary role of learning, and they would learn for a year to be prepared to come out of that program and start working right away at the company. So not only for Ron was this a complete change in career path, but it was also a career path, right? It was a boost into their salary. And so the funny part, the interesting part about this story is so he succeeded. There was like, I think 10 or 15 people that succeeded in this program. And about 10 years later, we're working on a software upgrade for one of my departments. And he was the man. He was the one helping me figure out, how do we do this? How do we make this happen? And how do we do it? And just to kind of see that growth and that possibility, more companies should do it. I think what is really important here is it doesn't have to be employee to expert, right? And it could be, hey, I have a busboy that's working really hard. They seem dedicated. Let me get them bartender school so they can then be prepared, because I'm always looking for bartenders. And that way I know they have the skill set and I can just move them into that role, right? And so I think that that's one way to kind of deal with the skill gap, right?
That's
So
a huge
kind of
way.
homegrown skill gap in there. I mean, we could go in and talk about other ways too, but I think that's one way to kind of look at it. Like, what are we doing? How are we building that on there?
No, I love that. That's an organized program. I know that I've told you and some of our listeners, I started my career, HR career at Disney World, but the only way I started that was I was just driving antique cars on Main Street, USA, and working in Magic Kingdom guest relations also. And Disney had a program where they would take a lot of their top hourly employees, train them on how to do interviewing, because they figured, hey, if you're a great hourly employee, you have what we're looking for, the whole Disney thing. And
Right.
so we'll train you. And yeah, I became a salaried employee. I had this fancy ID. I had all these perks or whatever, but it was a 1-year program, and they rotated everyone in and everyone out. And when they would rotate them in, some might stay, okay, as full-time recruiters. Others would rotate back into the regular population. They could have come from food and beverage. It could have come from custodial. I came from attractions operations, and eventually those folks became your leads and your leaders and your managers and that sort of thing. And it really worked well, because not only did it build talent from within, but it also built retention from within, because folks felt that. And you use that term a lot: invest in them and they will invest in you. And that's what I did, and that's how I became involved in human resources. I did that 1-year program, and then I just kind of stayed with HR. I always thought I was going to be in marketing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Right. And
but
so, I mean,
anyways,
again, right. I think using that opportunity, Disney does this well, right? There's nothing we can say about this, but Disney hires for attitude, right? And so that attitude is really important, whether you're in HR, whether you're on property, wherever you are, it's really important. And so a lot of times I think when we're looking around, we shouldn't be like, well, they don't have the experience. We have to say, you know what? They have the right attitude. They're loyal. They're going to be great for this company. How do we get them? How do we give them the right training so they can be successful in whatever role we need them in? I think that's it, right? And so Walgreens, QVC, Disney, I think all of them have it. I would ask you, Chuck, you've dealt with a lot of small businesses. How would small businesses go about implementing something like this?
oh boy, it depends how small the small business is, but you could take someone and train them to work in a lot of there's a lot of cross utilization with small businesses. Hey, you're not just going to be siloed to this, but we'll show you shipping and receiving. We'll show you accounting, accounts payable, and accounts receivable, and we'll give you all these skills so that, hey, maybe someday you can build your own business, or you can feel really a part of this business, and then next thing you know, they're a leader or a manager in that business, a small business, and then as new locations open for that business, you're building your leadership workforce that feel like they are invested. Once again, that is your thing, John, right? You invest in them, they invest back into you.
Yeah, and I think that's great, right? Kind of giving people that opportunity and knowing, especially in small businesses when people are going to wear many hats, teaching them and training them and preparing them for the future roles. And also thinking, so from an HR point of view, I'm running a small business, or I'm in the HR of that small business. You have to think about the future. What are the skill sets you're going to need a year from now, 2 years from now? Start building them in your present employee base. Then they're going to be prepared. Like, oh, we need to do this. Let them spend time on building those skills, so they're going to help you move the organization forward. So I think that's great.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
a lesson for all of us. Like you said, the skills are the new currency, and loyalty grows when you invest first.
Yeah, and I think, a couple things that I would say. Again, look at upskilling pathways, right? And so what can we do? How can we improve those people? Offer education benefits tied to critical roles, right? And so, hey, we need somebody to get in that critical role. Give them the training, spend the money on it, right? Do that. You don't have to spend it for everyone, although that's, continuous learning, great thing. But obviously we do that. And then we think minimum requirements. I think getting rid of college education as a requirement, maybe preferred, but keeping it as a requirement, as a must, is probably a little overkill in a lot of roles. There's that commercial. I don't know if you've seen that Indeed commercial where somebody's interviewing for a hospitality manager, and the person's like, "You need a college degree." And they're like, "Well, I don't have one." And so they go on like, "So if I have a college degree in geology, it would be fine." And they're like, "Yeah." And so at the end of the commercial, they go, "Well, what's your degree in?" And he's like, "Dance." Right? And so it's just like, if you have the experience, higher skill sets, and that's really skill interviewing. We could go into that for a long time, but it's really important in there as well.
Yeah. What's number 2, John?
Employee well-being and burnout is
Wow.
number 2 on our list.
So we dug deep back into episode 122, but it's still everywhere.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. We dug deep back into episode 122, like 4 episodes ago.
Okay.
We dug deep into it. It was so long ago. But we did. We really talked about it a lot. And so I would recommend for our listeners to go back there and listen to that, because I do think it's a really important thing. But we're still seeing it, right? Their stories are still coming out, especially around the younger workers, right? People coming straight out of college. And some organizations are doing more than just sending out mental health awareness emails.
Yeah. It's like I've got a story for you. Kin Restaurant, KIN Restaurant in Boise, Idaho. So when the pandemic ended, instead of rushing back to normal, they reinvented their entire work model. Everyone from dishwashers to servers became salaried. Full health insurance, paid vacation, shared responsibilities.
Yeah, and so I just want to be clear on that salaried.
Yeah.
They were not all being paid a salary rate. If they were supposed to be non-exempt, they were still non-exempt. But what they were getting was enough money to live well, right? So it wasn't tip workers anymore. They eliminated the whole tip thing, and so they did a lot of things. And so they were really wanting to help their employees along. And so it wasn't about just, oh, this is a good thing to do, yay. Here's what happened: turnover dipped, reviews soared, right? Reviews of the restaurant soared. Employees stayed longer, and the quality of service made headlines nationally. Little Boise, Idaho. Was it Boise, Idaho? Yeah. Right now, getting national recognition for their food, right? And so,
Yeah.
kind of seeing that in there.
I can't imagine the cultural shift with something like that. I mean, that's really something. Employees then aren't really competing, they're collaborating. Burnout drops because security and respect are probably baked into that business. In addition, I guess if they're getting a wage and they're making more money, that takes care of it does take care of a number of personal issues and problems, and allows people maybe to not focus on those things at work, but focus on those work at work. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean, think about the normal restaurant business model, right? Um, the expectation is that most people aren't going to last there a very long time. And right, so people are moving
Yeah.
moving in and out because they're dealing with life stuff, right? They're stressed out. Like, I'm not sure, like, and I've worked with a lot of waiters and waitresses in my time, and they would struggle like, hey, if I'm not getting the money here, I'm looking for another restaurant to get the money I need because I need money to survive. And so when you get rid of that, now people are focused on how do we make the restaurant better? How do we do it? And it is a major culture shift, as you said, Chuck. And I think it's going to be hard. I don't think it's going to work in every establishment. You need the right leaders. But I do think it's something to think about. Like, how do we change that business culture to reduce burnout? Right. That, I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? How do we do that so people are more self-satisfied and not as stressed in their lives? And kind of looking at that. So a couple things that I would recommend. Number one, review your benefits honestly. Are you doing your best for your employees? And you know what I always say, Chuck? Do your stay interviews, right? And so ask them, like, what do you like about the benefits? What don't you like about benefits? What would make the benefits better, right? And you may find out it's not expensive, right? They may like, oh, I just want to be able to get into my own dentist, or I just want to be able to have time once a week to go to therapy. I think I told this story a couple weeks ago, but one of my clients, the CEO, said, look, everyone should be able to take hour off every week to deal with therapy. And like, let's go out. Like, he just said it in a leadership meeting, and they're like, what? And he's like, no, this is important. We should be able to give that. And then they worked it out. The HR person's like, yeah, we can make that happen. And so they made it happen. And now it's part of their policies in doing that. Create pathways for time off without guilt trips. And think about a restaurant, right? Think about a restaurant with an executive chef. What happens when the executive chef's not there, right?
Nothing, because the executive chef never leaves.
Right. Right. And so, of course, they're going to get burned out and worn out because they're there all the time. Yeah. Think about here's one that hits home, Chuck. Think about your payroll person.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. How many times have you talked to a payroll person and they're like, oh, I never get a vacation. Even when I'm on vacation, People are asking me questions and I'm dealing with, I spend 2 hours in the morning answering payroll questions. Well, that's not fair to them. And so, but we allow it to happen because they're the critical person. Only they can do it. Well, why aren't we building the bench strength so somebody could take off a week and not have to work, right? And so, kind of there. And then employee engagement starts with basic needs, right? Their basic needs, our basic needs, and really making sure that they have what they need, which kind of leads us to what we were talking about earlier today, Chuck, before we got started the podcast, was a lot of employers are looking to bring in daycare into the workplace because there is daycare deserts in many big cities. And so how do we make that happen? How do we help them? And how do we do that? And let's just bring it in here. We'll do it and we'll figure out how to do it, kind of doing that. And so I think that's a big, again, it's going back to what we talk about, that holistic employee.
Yeah. I like, we have that daycare deserts thing is huge. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do we got for another issue, John? Issue number 3.
Third issue, AI. AI in automation as well.
Okay, so not just AI tools, but the fear that comes with them.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? We're hearing like, oh, AI can do that, and AI can do that. No, look, Chuck, one of the things that you and I have both really come around to, I think, over the last couple of years because of our book, The Ultimate Guide to HR, is once you create a system, you can automate that system.
Yes.
And once you automate that system, then do you need as many people to do that, right? And so, again, of course, there's fear about that. It was really interesting. Chipotle, right? You know Chipotle.
Yes.
Rolled out an AI assistant that they called, are you ready for this, Chuck?
Ready.
Avocado.
Oh, I get it. Avocado.
That's a great name. And that screens candidates and answers their questions and schedules interviews. It slashes hiring time in half, while freeing the HR team to focus on interviews and not paperwork.
Yeah, but here's the key. They didn't present avocado as replacing anyone. They presented it as helping their teams, right, connect faster and more personally with real people.
Yeah, and I think you've talked about that, right? I think you've talked about like how much of that paperwork and how much of all those things that need to be done. And if we can find a tool that we can use to get rid of those things, now we can spend the time we need interviewing, right? That personal touch. I think that's what you always say. It's the personal touch.
Yeah.
And not losing that with the AI, but also helping that really get in there. So we're hiring the right people for that. And it's the messaging that matters. I think when we're rolling this out to our coworkers or we're rolling this out to the team, and I think this is one of the things I think HR and leaders are going to have to practice over the next 2 years, 3 years, is, hey, we're rolling out this new tool that's going to save us time, right? But we're not going to replace anybody. Well, maybe we're not going to replace anybody, but maybe we'll replace a couple people. But you need to roll that out in a way that people don't feel threatened. And like, this is going to make my job better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I use it, it's not keeping me up, at least in my role, in my sphere of industry. It's not kept me up. What has helped, it has actually helped me. This one has helped me sleep a little better because it's almost like having a partner with me, especially, and I shared this with you off microphone, investigations. Like I can use AI to help me not investigate. It's not investigating, but I have a lot of witness statements, a lot of interviews, a lot of testimony, things, and I used to take a lot of time drawing the lines, similarities, differences, and helping draw conclusions, and then writing follow-up emails. And when I can use AI as a partner to help me find those items, it has dramatically cut my time involved in dealing with investigations, which then allows me to focus on other things in dealing with people and the people aspect of HR.
Yeah, and again, right? It's that personal touch. If we can increase the personal touch, the AI is a benefit, right? And I think I kind of see that in my work. I'm starting to use AI more as a partner and more of like, hey, can I do this? And can you help me with this? And can you do that? And the worst thing is they get it done so fast that I'm like, okay, wait, I haven't even thought about what I have to do, and you've already done your part. It's like having a superstar assistant, right?
Yeah.
Not that AI is right all the time, right? As I was telling Chuck this before we came on air. I was doing something last night and it was frustrating me. I'm like, okay, wait, this is exactly what I need. You have to spell it out.
Yeah, and you just can't install AI, hope for solves everything. You need strategy, communication, and policies.
Yeah, and speaking of policies, the Ultimate Guide to HR has an AI tool checklist. Chuck, didn't you remember? You built that. You built
Yes,
that
I
early
did.
on. You were kind of foreshadowing. You were ahead of your time. You're like
years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you were like, we need to do this. We need to have a checklist because this is going to be a big thing in HR. And I was like, no, it's not that big a deal. But you fought for it. We included it in our book, and you were right. I apologize in front of everyone. You were right. Once again, you were right. Kind of getting it in there, right? Oh my goodness. AI is taking over the world. Maybe we should just do an AI podcast.
Well, we have any other issues coming up, John? I know you mentioned 9 at the beginning of this podcast. So what else do we have going on?
All right, Chuck, what number are we at? That's what I want to know. Have you been paying attention?
I've been paying attention. Number 4, numero quattro.
All right, yeah. So issue number 4 is diversity, equity, and inclusion under pressure.
Sure. What do you think about that? You know, are you saying it under pressure because people want to do diversity, or DEI, or under pressure because people are not wanting to do it? Where are we going with this one? What do you think?
It's becoming one of the trickiest areas for HR to navigate, right?
Yes.
And so it has become one of the trickiest areas, not because DEI isn't important, right? It is vital to organizations. And we see even those organizations that may be pulling back some of their policies on there, they're still talking about it. It's all part of the conversation because we know statistics back us up. Having a diverse workplace, having people feel included in the workplace is critical for engagement. And it's simple as that. But the legal landscape is shifting, but I'll just leave it at that. I'll come back to that statement.
Sure. So take Paramount Global and CBS. You know, they faced a lawsuit where former employee alleged their DEI programs amounted to reverse discrimination. And, you know, even if you're not a big DEI person, I think most HR people definitely understand that there's value in having just a group of people that are somewhat diverse, and however you might add into that, like, do we want to have more like women? We've got so many guys as managers. It'd be great to have a female manager or a female chef or something like that. I see that a lot. And even something as simple as that, saying, you know, we'd love to have a chef that's female because we got 7 male chefs. Something like that, an initiative could get you in trouble. So, anyways, regarding this CBS and Paramount, they ended up settling, and part of the settlement involved scaling back specific DEI language and reevaluating their evaluation criteria.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an interesting case, right? And I think one of the things that we've seen a lot, and we've talked about this on this show, is where if you create, so you were talking about the woman chef, right? Okay, we're going to hire a woman chef. Just because she's a woman, that's not a reason to hire a woman chef,
No,
right?
it's not. You're right. But
right.
yeah.
No, but you're right, right? And so I think, and so one of the things we've talked about on this show is, what if we create a mentor program, and it's specifically created for Black women leaders? And that will, or is, discrimination, right? Because you're only allowing Black women to be in that group. What about Hispanic women? What about white males? And why aren't, like, so then you're getting, so people go into those things, and we need to be careful. I'm not saying that individuals don't need to be lifted up. I believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and people do need to be lifted up, and we need to kind of look at that. And what we find, if you scrape across all that politics, what you find is that when we really search for the best candidate, we're going to find a diverse pool of people to bring into the company, right? And so that's the goal of it. I think what I was going to say earlier, Chuck, is the law is still the law. Yeah. Title VII is still the law. Right? And so we need to make sure that we're following the law and making sure that we're not discriminating somebody because they're a protected class, or not offering somebody training because they're a protected class, right? And so it's still important that we pay attention to the law and do it. But I do think there's a lot of, and I've been in organizations, I've had these conversations, I'm on a board of a nonprofit, and what should we do? Like, how do we handle this? How do we make sure, like, what should we do? How do we handle diversity, equity, and inclusion in our organization without getting rid of our mission and our statement and all that kind of stuff? And so I think that's what I would say to people is, really go back and look at your DEI programs, look at how you're creating an inclusive workforce. What are you doing about that, and how are you dealing with it?
Okay, and if DEI is on your mind, focus on belonging efforts that benefit everyone. Be specific, not vague about the goals, and document your process, because intentions alone don't protect you in court.
Yeah, and document. Well, you said document. I taught payroll law today for a group of HR and payroll professionals, and I said it probably 1,000 times, Chuck. Document. I tell this story. Do you remember middle school, Chuck? Right? Do you remember that teacher in middle school, that math teacher that was like, "Well, John, you got the right answer, but you didn't show your work, so you're going to get a B minus." Like, why do I have to show my work? I got it right. But here's the thing. In HR, you have to show your work, because otherwise it's all about not your intentions. It doesn't matter what your intentions are. You have to show your work.
That's a great analogy. All right, John, we've been through 4 issues. I know we got 9 issues. We got issue 5 coming up. But I think we've kind of reached an end to our podcast today. What do you say we pick up issue 5 next week?
I think that's fantastic, Chuck. Let's do that. Yeah, we are getting out of our time, and we don't like keeping people too long in here. So yeah, let's do that. Let's take a week-long break. No, let's stop now, and then let's come back to this subject next week and really dive into the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 4 ones, and let's drive in there and help people to do that. Unfortunately, you're going to have some restless nights between now and then, but we'll get to you, and we'll have those in there.
All right, folks, you've been listening to the HR Stories podcast, where there's a lesson in every story. Check us out, team at hrstories.com, team at hrstories.com. Check out our book, The Ultimate Guide to HR, Checklist Edition, on amazon.com. John and I are thrilled to be here at the HR Stories podcast, and we are available for individual speaking gigs and training and all kind of great things. Thanks for listening to the HR Stories podcast.